Hi, it's Amy.
And it's Tim from GoWithLess. We're in Europe right now, and we have been here for 2 weeks. We're about to wrap up our trip. We've been to Paris, we have been to Amsterdam, and we've been to Brussels. We love public transportation, and we have used public transportation in each of these 3 cities, and we had a fail in every single city with public transportation.
We're going to be talking about our public transportation fails in Europe in today's video. We come out with a new video every single Wednesday. We have a lot more coming up from our European trip, so I hope that you will subscribe down below and stick around for this video. Thanks for watching. Let's get started.
So we're going to get started with our first city. That's going to be Paris. So when we showed up in Paris, we bought a 10-pack of tickets. I think it's called a carnet. And you have to swipe one of these tickets in every time you get it going to the train station. Basically, you validate the ticket, and it lets you into the station.
That's right. We know that we need to validate on every bus, on every train platform. We get that, we do it. I also know that we should keep those tickets until we get out of the whole metro bus system and we are out on the street. And we normally do. This time we didn't. This was probably the one time ever that we didn't. So what happened, we had our 3 metro passes. We've never seen anybody validating like tickets and checking tickets in our life.
People validate all the time.
But like double checking. Like we've never ever seen that in decades of public transportation. So the challenge is that the carnet tickets all look the same. There's 10 little tickets, and there's nothing that shows that they're used or not used. So we were getting our used and not used confused, and that was kind of tricky. So we wanted to get rid of all of our used tickets, and we did it as soon as we got off the metro, before we went through the turnstiles. We threw all of them in the trash, all 3 of us.
But this was like 20 feet before we went through the turnstiles. We threw them in the trash. Actually, we hadn't even gone through the turnstiles. We were going up the stairs. We threw them in the trash. And as we were going up the stairs, there are people there scanning tickets again to making sure that you actually have a validated ticket going out of the station. This is to make sure you didn't jump over the turnstiles. And so there are fines associated with not having a validated ticket once you get down in there. So the only way you really make this happen is if our family jumped over the turnstiles and went through. That'd be one way we could have done this. But
also,
anyway.
You can hold open the door for people. People can do that.
Yeah.
So they were legit doing this. This was our bad for sure. However, the challenge is they wouldn't. We said so we rounded the corner. We didn't see this happening, or else we wouldn't have thrown away our tickets. So we threw away our tickets, rounded the corner. Here's like 3 or 4 transit cops doing this check, and we said, our stuff. We just threw these away 2 seconds ago. They're right around the corner. They collected our passports, held onto them. So Tim breaks away to go get our tickets. He comes back after digging through the trash with our 3 little teeny tickets. They said, we're not going to take those. I showed them in my little wallet that we still had 5 unvalidated brand new tickets. He said, that will make your fine less. He said,
it's €50 if you didn't have a ticket at all. It's only a €35 fine per person, so we had to pay €35 per person in order to get out of the station. I wanted to wait. I think it was ultimately a waiting game. He said, I'm going to call the cops. And I said, call the cops. But
he's ready to go. He's like, take me to jail.
But ultimately, we paid the €35 fine. So I think that is almost $40 per person to get out of the train station. And we had validated tickets.
That was the killer, is that we already had paid to get in. Now, if you don't pay on the spot, you have a choice of paying by card or by cash. That's it. So he was totally fine calling the police. And Tim thinks this was bluffing. Actually, so was the guard. Tim thinks that the guy was bluffing. He said it takes 30 to 60 minutes for them to come. Then they bring you to the police station. And if they charge you at the police station, it's over €100 per person. Tim, like I said, he thought that part was a bluff. I don't think that was a bluff. But we decided just to pay the fine and to go our way and learn this lesson. We want to share this with you, so hopefully you never need to learn this lesson.
So number 1,
we will never do this again.
Always validate. Number 2, keep your tickets until you're actually out of the station.
All the way out of the station. On to our next city, which is Amsterdam. We had a different kind of a fail in Amsterdam. We bought 3-day passes, each one of us, which allowed us unlimited access to the metro, trams, buses for 3 full days. But we had a 4th morning, and we needed a one-way ticket from Edam to Amsterdam in order to catch our bus out.
Yeah, and so the problem is that when we went to look and see how are we going to purchase this ticket, we realized that they don't take cash, they only take cards. And not only do they only take cards, they only take specific types of cards. So they take pen and chip cards, which we didn't have with us. We're not sure if our ATM card would have worked in that circumstance, or if it really wanted this thing called pen and chip, which we don't really use in the States. They also take cards that are contactless, these new RFID cards. We happen to have one of those. And then they take one.
They don't take cash, and they also don't have a kiosk.
Yeah,
so
they
you
don't.
had to pay on the bus.
You had to pay on the bus.
Yeah, there was no. This is a decent, small, little sized town, and no ability to buy it at the station itself. You had to pay on the bus, no cash. You had to have one of these cards.
And so they take a variety of things that we don't have back in the States. Luckily, they did take our RFID-based card, this contactless card. We had just gotten one of these in the mail, so we don't. This is something new in the States. We got one of these. We brought it with us. It had a foreign transaction fee of like 3%, but I brought it just in case something like this happened, and we were lucky that it did work. We weren't sure what we were going to do if that didn't work. We had backup plans. We would try and pay somebody on the bus in cash and ask them to purchase it for us, or ultimately we would have taken an Uber, and that would have cost us about $60 US, I think, to get from Edam into Amsterdam. So luckily that worked, but that was a fail and that we weren't prepared for. How are you going to purchase this ticket to get back from Edam?
And I'm going to actually piggyback on that, because there's a main Amsterdam station. We were planning to ask if we purchase 3 one-way tickets the day before we need them, can we use them the day we need them, or are they valid immediately? Because we didn't want to have tickets that we didn't need. So we were leaving town late, and the ticket offices were all closed. It wasn't even that late. It was like 10 o'clock at night. Ticket offices are all closed. So we could have purchased a ticket, potentially, we still don't even know, that we could have purchased this ticket at a kiosk in the Amsterdam Central Station that may or may not have worked the next day. But the lesson on this one is there are funky things we find with transportation. When we go by to the kiosks, very unusual cards are, it's just not all credit cards are accepted, right? When you're buying train tickets and things like that.
That's right. One other thing that was unique in Amsterdam that we haven't experienced before is usually when you check into public transportation, you validate coming in and that's it. You're sort of done with the process, and then you get out of the station and you're done. In Amsterdam, you would check in and you would check out. This includes like getting on and off of a bus. So every time you get on the bus, you'd validate, and when you get off the bus, you validate. What they told us is if you forget to validate several times off of the bus, ultimately your card would just be disabled and you'd have to go get it re-enabled at a terminal or something like that. And so that was also something new that we learned when we were there.
Because we aren't used to validating when we get off the bus, Tim and I didn't validate when we got off the bus, and we needed to go to a special office to have our card. We thought we might need it to be, like unlocked so that we could use it again. We walked in, there was like an hour wait. There were hundreds of people in the station, all with like, it looked like the DMV, really. And we were heading off to a tour at the Anne Frank house that was a very specific timed tour and very hard to get. So we had to go. Thankfully, we went back and did wait for, half an hour, and they took care of us. But something to remember is to know the situation in a city. Do you have to validate in? Do you have to validate out? And it's just unique.
Homework.
And bring options for payment with you.
Our last fail happened outside of Brussels. We actually didn't take any public transportation while we were in Brussels because we were so centrally located. We took a day trip to Bruges, and on the way back we stopped in Ghent, and we used some public transportation in Ghent.
Now, we purchased kind of an expensive ticket. We normally would walk. Our daughter was crying. She cried uncle because it was a long walking day in Bruges. We paid €3 each for a one-way from the train station to the downtown
round trip.
area.
It was actually for an hour's worth of transportation.
Well, it wasn't a round trip, but it was an hour, so we made it round trip. Our Ghent tour was like the Griswolds at the Grand Canyon. It was like, it's Ghent, and off we went. However, we only had 1 hour. We took the tram, maybe it's supposed to be like a 15 minute tram ride into the heart of the city on like little city tram tracks, and it got in a car accident.
Yeah, it actually ran into a car. It stopped. We didn't realize what had happened until we got off the train and hit the mirror of a car. Somebody had parked incorrectly in the tram, which is on a track, just hit the car.
Yeah, that was bad luck. So here we paid over about 10 euro for the three of us to just go a couple, maybe not even 2 miles, which was already kind of killer for me. And we had to get off of the tram, do the walking, do like 20 minutes in the town of Ghent, and get back on the tram, so that we only paid the one fare, which was kind of crazy. But it was a long day, so Ghent was definitely a place we need to get back to when we have more time.
Exactly.
But sometimes public transportation doesn't work. So sometimes you pay your fee and you can't even use it.
Our prior two examples, we failed. In this example, public transportation failed.
Yeah, so that doesn't mean that we aren't in love with public transportation. We still take it everywhere. We do not rent cars, really, unless we have to, unless we're in the middle of nowhere. If we're in a city, we're taking public transportation or we're walking. So we still love it. That's a quick video for you this week. We're going to be coming back with some more early retirement stuff in the next few weeks. We're still wrapping up Merida. We have all of our European videos, a lot going on.
Yep. So thanks again for watching today's video. Please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe below if you haven't already subscribed. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next Wednesday.